Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It is Thursday, February 20th, 2025 is the year. I'm beginning to finally forget it. If you're watching a video, I'm also turning yellow.
Oh, no.
Very.
Oh, no.
Very, very bright. It's anytime it's bright outside and we got all the snow. It never stops snowing.
The snow is then reflecting light up, like the way you can get sunburn when you're out like snowboarding or whatever, because the snow reflects light up and you can actually cover up better. That's what's happening to you. There's a reflection of the beautiful Missouri snow, and it is just yellowing you into a different dimension on StreamYard.
Yeah, forgive the yellow hue if you're watching on video, but love the golden hue if you're listening on audio, because we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Denny's just going to throw some bouquets Travis Kelce's way. Heard he's got some good stats on Travis Kelce, who is considering retirement. ESPN's Dan Graziano believes there's a good chance Mark Andrews is back with the Ravens in 2025, despite single-handedly costing them the division round. Listen, I know the games are more than one play, but come on, let's be real.
I mean, it was the worst game anybody's ever played.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the latest on the Rams and their quarterback drama, and someone unsurprisingly trying to stir up drama, the Rams quarterback situation. We might let Denny talk about Taysom a little bit. Then we'll do a little more seasons in review. I'll ask who I call it the cursed middle, which team you'd rather be going for, the Dolphins, Falcons, or Cardinals. Could the Bucs be the next Lions? A concept you come up with when you need topics for a podcast. But I thought it was pretty interesting. Some other stuff we'll get to if we have time. But, okay, it's February 20th. You know what that means? Winter outside. It's never been colder, and baseball is starting.
Yeah.
Baseball weather here in Missouri, here in Maryland, here in North Carolina. Denny, real quick, what team does Juan Soto play for?
He plays, obviously, he was traded or he
Denny,
signed.
I swear to God, I'm pretty sure Pat did this bit on a show without me a month ago. With Juan Soto. I'm not saying with anyone. With Juan Soto when he signed with X team, right? That was this year?
Mets.
Yeah. He went to New York. You should have just done your soccer London thing in New York.
Yeah. You're right. I should have done that. I mean, okay, just on baseball real quick. Just real quick. Look. There's no reason to start the season in late March or early April.
Yeah, there is, because the only thing that makes the game unique is having 162 games. How are you going to do that if you don't start in late March?
It's too cold in many of these cities. First of all, we need domes in every city.
Would totally ruin the character of the sport.
And we need uniform stadiums.
Oh my God.
There should be no difference between one stadium and the next. We desperately need these things.
Seems like a really good idea when you play 162 games to have every stadium look and feel the exact same.
I'm talking about exact measurements. Same grass.
It's just a plain white uniform that says baseball, and then for the away team, it's a plain black uniform that says team. And every team uniformly has one home, one away kit. They all play in the exact same stadium. It's one announcer has to do every game.
I've been thinking a huge rant of mine is the sameness of modern stadiums in all sports. And I've been thinking about this watching the Four Nations face off, which is unfortunately not on NBC Thursday evening. It's on ESPN. You should maybe check it out. It's been quite the scene so far. But they were playing in the Bell Center in Montreal. And they just made it. They all were wearing these laminates that had like these glowing orbs on them, also known as lights. And it just made the arena look totally different. And back in the day, even the indoor arenas used to all like look different and have their own character somehow, even though the courts are uniform, the rinks are uniform. And it's just so sad. Like every NFL game now, like what's the one stadium that looks and feels different in the NFL? The one that Denny was raised.
The answer you're looking for is Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Denny wants to raise Lambeau Field to the ground. All the new stadiums look the same. Lambeau's the only one that has any character. Weirdly, Mercedes-Benz has a little character. And even the Superdome, despite being a dome, has some character. But all the new domes look and feel the same.
Good. Get it trending.
No, it's the opposite of that. And we're smoothing our sports out too much. And we need more variance. We need more character. I'm a huge Mizzou basketball fan.
Yeah.
Last night they had to have the coach. We beat Alabama, number 4 team in the nation.
I know this. This is awesome.
And they had to have the coach get on the PA and beg the students not to rush the court because it was going to be a $500,000 fine. I'm like, dude, not to Dennis Gates, due to the NCAA. Like, can you just chill for 5 seconds? $500,000
Really?
rush the court. Like, seriously, relax. Like, we do not have to make.
That's quite the fine.
All right, can we split the difference? There's all indoor stadiums in the NFL. They don't play in the outdoors. We never see a flake of snow, but then they do the stadium series like the NHL does. So like once a year, they play the most miserable minus 15 degree game in Lambeau, but they don't show up at Lambeau in any other game.
Lambeau or like Legion Field in Birmingham, Denny.
Yeah, you can't tell me that you enjoy a Cubs-Cardinals game on April 7th where the game time temperature is 29 degrees.
Here's the deal. The baseball season is 6 months long. It's cold for approximately 17 days.
Oh, stop.
It's cold for 17 days.
It's cold in Chicago through May.
I was going to say,
Chicago doesn't have a summer. That's different. All right.
I was thinking of the Twins too. I was like, they got to have like snow in May once every decade in Minnesota, right?
Chicago has the worst weather on the face of planet Earth. That's a little different.
Terrible.
Right? But in St. Louis, it's cold till like April 11th at the latest. April 11th would be too late for Travis Kelce to make his decision. The Chiefs would like to know by the new league year. Apparently, March 15th is the date they're giving. More realistic, probably like March 1st. Definitely March 10th when the tampering begins. Denny, we've been thinking Travis Kelce might have 1 foot out the door. You apparently have some data that says he should have 2 feet out the door, and he needs to retire.
Yeah.
What was the grim data that is leading you? Again, you want nothing fun in the sport of football. That includes apparently Travis Kelce no longer playing. What's the data that you have on the situation?
Yeah.
Data.
The piece speaks for itself. If folks want to check it out, they can go to the Rotoworld site. But it's like there was a fall off in every category last year, including and I think this jumps out more than others in yards after the catch per reception. So he averaged under 4 yards after the catch per reception last year, by far the lowest mark of his career, way below his career mark. He's been so good at that, at producing after the catch. He just wasn't getting that done last year. You look at ESPN's open score. He's, depending on how you
Denny's been chastised for this.
He's either dead last or fifth to last in separation, getting open, all that stuff. Also, his per route efficiency has fallen off a cliff. And without Rashee Rice, this Chiefs offense had to kind of center around Travis Kelce. And I think that actually explains why Patrick Mahomes was so, he had such a tough time this past year. And so I actually think it would be good for the Chiefs if Kelce retired.
Feels a bit galaxy brain, but I actually do agree. I think it's a galaxy brain take that couldn't end up being correct. The Mahomes would maybe benefit from Kelce just retiring, where he could just take that off the menu.
Right.
Because it is like such muscle memory since 2018, and it worked so well for so long. You could see how Mahomes could not mentally move on from that. Like, what do you mean? It's Kelce. And I'm going to throw it to him, and then something cool is going to happen. And this might be too off track, too far afield of a comparison, but when I think of Travis Kelce's route running now, do you guys know the Tim Robinson gif where he's wearing the really stupid hat and then he flings it off his head and tries to roll it down his sleeve?
Yes.
And then it just looks so dumb and nothing. That's kind of what I feel like Travis Kelce is now when he catches the ball. Like when he's trying to add yak. Like the linebackers just got him stood up one-on-one, and Kelce does flips his hat off his head, all right, something cool is going to happen now, and then nothing happens, and the linebackers dude,
it's unclear what he was trying to do.
Exactly. Yes.
So Kelce got away with it for a long time, I think, because his athleticism. But just real quick on the way that he served as an anchor for the entire Kansas City passing attack, he was only 20.
Anchor seems strong, but
he was only 20 air yards behind Xavier Worthy for the team lead. Now, 35-year-old Travis Kelce should not be near your leader in air yards. Are you kidding me? Especially because nothing is downfield anymore. Once in a while there used to be a seam shot that Mahomes or Alex Smith before him would throw to Kelce. That just simply doesn't happen anymore, and that's fine. But Kelce, if he returns, I argued in the piece, he needs to be the distant number 2 option in this game, in this passing game.
He needs to be like Jason Witten, late career Jason Witten, 3rd and 6. That's cool. In the red zone, that's cool. He needs to be more like a package player. Do you agree with that, Kyle? Do you have any different takes on the Kelce situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think him retiring also frees up $17 million, which, like, for a team that's relatively tight on cap and has a lot of free agents, that's pretty valuable. We did just get the cap going up by more than people expected, but it went up universally for everyone. That's money everyone gets to spend, so it's not like a relative advantage the Chiefs can take advantage of. And yeah, I do think just the way that Kelce's efficiency and his yards after the catch specifically, that was a really good point by Denny, has cratered. I don't want to say anchor seems strong. I think the way
anchor is very strong.
I took the phrase anchor to mostly mean anchor on the depth of throws. Like when so much of your offense goes to Kelce, who cannot win 15 yards downfield anymore, it anchors the explosiveness. It basically resigns Patrick Mahomes to doing these sub 10 8-out throws. The defense is also imploring him to do that as well. That's part of what we've seen. But I think, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. You got to try to make some more deep shots, and you just can't even try to do that with Kelce's skill set. So I do think he's not only should he be like the Zach Ertz of this team, where Zach Ertz was clearly the number 2 for the Commanders, but like there should be a step below that he might need to be at.
He needs to be a package player instead of the all-everything player that he's always been. As many yards per route run as Brenton Strange last year for Travis Kelce. Right. I've already used this previous stat, but yeah, he had fewer than Mike Gesicki, fewer than Will Dissly, fewer than Austin Hooper.
Yeah,
fewer than Taysom.
Well, of course, Taysom's good. We'll talk about that later.
Taysom is good. Yeah, what I meant by anchor, if I could just clarify, Senator, is that is that the fact that he was the clear number 1 target, like Kyle was saying, brought down everybody, including Mahomes. If Mahomes is ever going to get back to what Pat claims,
get back,
he's going to, fantasy wise, if he's ever going to get back to his pre-2021 doldrums, Kelce cannot be the centerpiece of this offense.
Adam, can you clip what Denny was just saying, but overlay my voice on it? If Mahomes is ever going to be good again, because we kind of know at this point he's pretty washed. I think that's what Denny was trying to say. If he's ever going to get back, really means Denny thinks he's washed.
Then you said 2021. I believe in 2022 he was what is known as the league MVP. By the way.
Oh, who cares?
League MVP.
Look at what they're doing to my goat.
So it's been 2 years. 2 years where he hasn't been quite as good in fantasy. And let's see here, he's won 1 Super Bowl, and then he didn't win a Super Bowl in year 2, but let's see here, he made the Super Bowl and then lost it.
I'm sorry to say, Mahomes remains bad for fantasy.
Mahomes remains bad for fantasy in Denny's mind. Mark Andrews was very bad for fantasy in everyone's mind for much of 2024. He did start scoring touchdowns down the stretch. He finally got more involved as they made their playoff push. He was much more efficient than Travis Kelce. He was top 5 or 6 in yards per route run. But man, it's hard to unsee the gaffes he made in the divisional round. Seriously, one of the worst games like a big-time player has ever played. His future's he's not retiring, but his Ravens future is uncertain like Travis Kelce's. But yeah, Dan Graziano reports there's a good chance he will be back. Denny, did Mark Andrews do nothing wrong last year? Like what's the data say beyond his yards per route run on Mark Andrews?
Well, again, like Kelce, we saw a massive drop off in yak per reception. Just an inability to produce after the catch, which has always been really like a strong suit of Mark Andrews, like catching in the middle of the field, making something happen, slipping a tackle or two. Simply just did not happen last year. Meanwhile, Isaiah Likely was top 5 in that category. So he seems to be more effective as a pass catcher. Now, I will say that the Ravens didn't really care about that, and they targeted Andrews at a much higher rate. If you look at, per route basis, it seems like they'll stay together. But Graziano said, there are a couple scenarios where the Ravens could be done with Andrews, and it's driven somewhat by the fact that they have Likely. They have a guy who can step in and easily fill in for Andrews in that middle of the field role.
Is Likely better at this point, Kyle, than Mark Andrews? Because Likely it's so weird in that anytime they have to feature him, he's like, I'm just a total baller, ? And then when everyone's healthy, for some reason, he's just not featured. And it could be like too cute of a take to say he's better. than Mark Andrews, but I kind of feel like Isaiah Likely might just be better than Mark Andrews at this point, or is this too crazy?
Yeah, I think this is a little too galaxy brain. On the entire season, we had Mark Andrews getting 1.9 yards per route run, just outside the top 5. We had him as the highest open score in the NFL among tight ends, the second highest open score in the entire just shy of a decade that they've tracked the data for open score.
All right.
Of course, he owns the first, 4th, 5th, 7th, and like 8th best open scores because he's one of the best tight ends of our generation at getting open.
And that he can't catch the ball.
Well, the catch score was low. You didn't wait for the catch score. They track these things differently. So he was really good last year. Was he peak Mark Andrews? Obviously not. I think, and we talked about this on the show. I mean, we were talking about it 3 months into the season. Got in a car crash in the offseason, and the team was real cagey about like, we're going to give him a day, a week, 2 weeks off in training camp. Yeah, exactly. Like he clearly wasn't healthy. And I think it was, at least it is a plausible explanation for why he spent 3 months of the season as a like part-time tight end who wasn't as efficient as we thought he could be, was that he was very injured for much of the season, and the team just didn't really let that on. And more evidence to this is that after the bye, which somehow they had a week 14 bye, after that week 14 bye, really long into the season, he averaged 2.1 yards per route run, would have been 4th in the NFL. He was targeted on 22% of his routes. And his yak, which I think was the canary in the coal mine for Travis Kelce, as his yak started going down, it became very clear that he was not the same juggernaut tight end. And that kind of came to a head this year. We're talking about him being an anchor on the offense. His yak exploded over the final 7 games. It would have been his best yak of his entire career, 4.6 yards after the catch for his entire career. It's only 7 games, but the fact that he used to be really good at that, he was injured. And as they gave him a week off, he became really good at it again. Tells me that there's a chance, that not guaranteed, he's also an old player who's banged up a decent amount of the time, but there's a chance that he just got healthier late in the season, and that's why he looked good late in the season. So I'm a bit more in on Mark Andrews for like fantasy next year and for the team not cutting him. I think there's almost no chance they cut him. They even had in their postseason presser, I think it was Harbaugh saying both he and Eric DeCosta absolutely love Mark Andrews. It didn't sound like the way you talk about a player who's going anywhere.
And he's cut.
I know. Mike McDonald, like you look at Mike McDonald talking about Tyler Lockett, and he's like, yep, something we got to work through. Yeah. All right, buddy. Sorry, Tyler, you're not on the roster next year. Whereas they were effusing praise.
You mentioned he's an older player. He is, which is correct, but he is half decade younger than Travis Kelce. He's turning 30 at September, Mark Andrews. So maybe a little something still left in the tank there. Didn't you have a thought there you need to share?
Yeah. I'll be real honest with you guys. I forgot about the whole car accident thing.
He never missed time.
And they didn't have an injury report back. It's training camp, so there's no injury report. He doesn't miss time. So it's. I'm not saying that is for sure what it was. I'm just saying there's a logic to it that I think is reasonable.
No, I think you're onto something. I mean, I remember whispers of like, is Andrews going to play this year? That sort of thing. So that it got people off of him in best ball, if I remember correctly, in late August. So that actually does align. And, really, like, it was just the yak that had fallen off tremendously until the bye week. I don't know, to answer the question about is Likely better.
Yeah, but it's fine.
I think he's probably a better pass catcher overall, but I think Andrews does the little stuff better than Likely.
Catching 2-point conversions.
Likely is
game and extend
holding on to the football.
Likely he looks like a receiver. Like and
he plays like one.
And the reason I know that is because when I watch football with my dad, he never identifies Likely as a tight end. And he's like, that receiver, he just caught the touchdown. I said, no, that's tight end. He said, no, he's a receiver. So he's a receiver.
Quick. To Mark Andrews' credit, I believe this is in his best season. 2 of the funniest, worst drops I've ever seen in the back of the end zone. I think it was a 1,300-yard season because he'd be like 6,300 in DFS, and you'd be like, he should be 7,500. He came up just, he was like at 1,300 or 1,400 yards. And of course, the week you're on him, horrific drop in the back of the end zone. He had 2 of them 1 year and 1 of them a year or 2 later. So not like we've never seen this from him before.
So I guess we'll have to see. Mark Andrews, not washed, apparently. Travis Kelce, very much washed, per Denny Carter. We'll be right back after this. Liverpool and Man City, 2 mainstays of Premier League title contention, go head-to-head once again this weekend. City hopes to break into the top 4 with a home victory over Mo Salah and the Reds, Watch the matchup live on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, only on Peacock. Denny, what town does Man City play in?
London.
There's a hint in their name.
Manchester.
Yeah. There you go. Yep, that's correct. Yeah. London, of course, always a good guess. But
you cover like 60% of the Premier League.
Yeah. London, a good guess.
Last time you told me just to guess London every time, so I did.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to set you up there.
No, that's fine.
And, Man City and Manchester. But I can understand how you wouldn't just assume Man is part of a city title because of how there is literally a team called Crystal Palace, for instance. And
is there?
Yeah, there is. And it was the old Man City in the East Midlands. We called it the Man City because that's where the men went to die for the king. I'm like, all right, it sounds plausible to me.
No, I would if you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that sounds right.
I know. English history. So dumb and also so riveting. I've read 1,000-page book on English history. Where is that? Check that. The English and Their History by Robert Toombs.
A real creative title. You can tell the history majors really nail the sales title.
Listen, they sold it to me. 1,000 pages. Guess who's got to do a sell job is Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
And he would, per Adam Schefter, the big dog, Rodgers would, quote, be thrilled with the idea of going to LA if the Rams and Matthew Stafford can't come to agreement. Yeah, I mean, fact check true. I'm sure he would be thrilled.
Me too, buddy. I'd love for
I
them
know.
to call
I
me
would
up.
truly love to follow up Matthew Stafford as the Rams quarterback. I mean, who wants to take this? I mean, this would be this. It's not happening, correct? And if it did, it would be a huge disaster, right? I guess I could see Sean McVay being like, "I'm the one who can get."
I also think the ego clash of him and McVay though would be horrific because so much of Aaron Rodgers' career is him wanting to play Aaron Rodgers ball, and he typically gets to do that. And obviously, it worked out for a decade and change. But the thing is, he definitely still wants to play Aaron Rodgers ball, and that's sort of. I think that very much goes against what McVay wants.
What do you think, Denny?
True. I'm not dismissing it completely because I don't really know if there will be better options. I mean, as far as just as talent goes. I mean, don't get me wrong. The metrics hated Rodgers last year.
So did the eye test. I mean, a guy cannot move. Truly cannot. He looks like an old man. I mean, he looked like Mark Brunell, like end stage Mark Brunell.
Yes. Okay. I'll go with that. But just my gentle pushback would be that Rodgers is in no position now to do what he did with the Jets, which was to storm in, tell everyone, I'm in charge. We're running my offense. I get to decide who's the coach. I get to decide who we sign in free agency. He's not going to do any of that if he goes to LA. He's just going to be a guy, like just one of the guys. Or
sounds like him. I bet he'd be on board with
or
that.
He's gone. Or he's gone. I promise you, he gets not one dime guaranteed from the Rams. Like I
he'd love that too.
He gets some guaranteed money. I would say the only way it could work, Denny, you're on to something. Or the only way it could work, Aaron Rodgers is a man quite often, like many elite athletes, driven by like revenge and spite. And when they drafted Jordan Love, back-to-back MVPs, he was a younger man then, of course. But I mean, this is going to be, if he somehow manages to play in 2025, we know it's going to be a revenge and spite season.
Yeah.
After everything that went wrong with the Jets, all the Schadenfreude, I mean, quite literally the entire football world is laughing at him. And I could see where he's revenge-minded enough where he actually does make the bargain with himself. Like, I'm just going to do whatever Sean McVay tells me to do and be an ottoman, basically, for Sean McVay. You kind of are onto something there where I could see them, where people would just miss it out of hand. I could see them coming to some grand corrupt bargain to return.
I think he tells himself that he signs in week one. Is the first huddle. He's like, yeah, I'm not doing that, Sean. He pulls the little microphone out of his ear. He's like, nope.
Takes out the earpiece. Wow. That seems insubordinate.
I mean, is it likely? No, it's not likely. But I'm just wondering, like who is going to step in? Like who
who do we think it would be? Because I don't think it's the Rams. I don't really know. Like it's one of the bad teams missing a quarterback. That's like this is. I mean, frankly, it's what the Jets were. Where they're like, we're one wash quarterback away.
The Jets cut him and sign him. Like this guy can fix all of our problems.
Yeah.
It's
but it might work for us.
It's like the Giants, but that's too close.
I mean, it could be Mike Tomlin. I would say it could never be the Steelers, but I don't know. Mike Tomlin, all he ever does is manage egos. I guess
that's a good. I like that sales pitch actually.
Wow.
If the Browns somehow convince themselves like we
Yeah.
can't waste a year of Myles Garrett, the Colts are where like the bridge quarterbacks go to die. Titans probably not.
Man, the Colts.
If the Titans picked a little bit lower, you could convince themselves that they're the 1-year team, but I don't think so.
I don't think
know, maybe
Pete Carroll would do it at this point.
Also, there's no way he would play under a Tom Brady quote owned team.
What are you say, Denny?
I was going to say the Rams have something going for them that the other teams don't, which is an elite receiver. And so Rodgers would need that. And then Rodgers, he would trust. If Rodgers signs with the Rams at any point, you know who's coming. You know Devontae Adams is coming.
No. I think you're going to say Alan Lazard, honestly. I swear to God, I was like, yeah, he'd be a good number 3. You can play the Demarcus Robinson role.
Maybe Lazard, but definitely Adams. What do you think Adams is not going to try? They're going to keep trying this until they can.
Devontae to the Chiefs. Let's get it trending. Denny wants to get Taysom Hill to the Broncos trending. Cool. First off, where did you even find this news nugget? Like, do you have like Google alerts for Taysom? like, how did this even make it onto our website?
I didn't do the blurb.
No way!
I did not.
No way. Denny doesn't do the blurb plus 2,000 cashes for the listeners.
I know. I was going to say.
Obviously, I assume that.
I was going to say if you bet on it, you lost a lot of money. Yeah,
I was wondering why. It's literally 0 degrees in St. I thought it was a weird day for them to be pouring foundation in my backyard for a fireworks stand in the summer, but it was because I had bet against Denny. I had bet that Denny had written the Taysom blurb.
I did not. But I mean, Sean Payton loves his guys. I mean, look at little Jordan Humphrey. Okay, little Jordan Humphrey's on the roster. Folks.
Adam Troutman, got traded for Troutman. They didn't just pick him up off of a practice squad. They traded for him
and didn't even use him. They were just like, we just like your face, man. We just want you to be around.
He's a vibes guy. He's just a vibes guy.
You're my boy. Taysom could go there and just ruin Bo Nix.
You're right.
Honestly,
it would be the worst 2 games of Bo Nix's career while Taysom's healthy. I'm sorry, Taysom. I love you with all my heart, but Pat's right.
Say it, Denny.
Can I say real quick that Riley Leonard is the next Taysom? Let's get it trending.
You know who I was trying to get trend. I literally tried to get this trending last year. Why is Justin Fields not the next Taysom? Like,
okay, so I've actually come to this whatever we're calling this segment of the show with the real next Taysom, which is actually topical. It's the Penn State tight end Tyler Warren. I have it pulled up right here. They literally lined him up as a Wildcat quarterback and a running back for a combined like 80 plays last year. He played special teams early in his career. His rushing line, as what I believe is a 5th-year senior, I think he stayed all five an extra year in college, was 26 carries, 200. I know all 5 is like that's the normal. I was gonna say, what if I went? I was like, you know how you say for 6, sometimes 7, if you really got to do it. Anyway, 26 carries, 218 yards, 4 touchdowns in just his final year alone. 2 other touchdowns. He threw 6 passes, one of which was a touchdown in his final season. And you are not gonna believe this. He has a career punt. He has punted a football once in a regulation.
The Big Ten is not real football, man. Like, stop with this stuff.
If you want to know what it was you remember Tom Brady's punt where they're at like this no man's land and we can't kick a field goal, but we can't. So they send out the offense and then they let the quarterback, in this case the tight end, kick a little pooch punt. It was fine.
It's funny the Big Ten has one real team in Ohio State, and they just like never lose a conference game unless it's the only game they care about.
I know. It's literally the only game they care about.
Anyway, back to Riley Leonard.
I actually was circling back to this because it's a really good take on Riley Leonard.
This guy is like, I think I saw a graph the other day, and I wish I had access to it right now. The most efficient rushing quarterback ever, like per EPA data. Like he can run the ball. He's not good. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
he's real bad.
I want to be very clear here. He is terrible. But man, if he got into an offense where they could use him in a weird way and he converted to tight end or something, I'm just saying he's worth monitoring for fantasy.
Yeah, Riley Leonard not good, but he could be. I mean, Taysom was not good either. And so that's when you're not good at your real job, try to find another job. They found another job for Taysom. I like the Riley Leonard take 6'4", 216, according to Adam. Tyler Warren's 6'6", 260. Oh my God.
Good.
Tyler
he's
Warren,
like a true, he's an
someone's going to fall in
tight
love
end
with
sense.
Tyler Warren. Like,
I mean, he's already mocked to be pretty consistently, not in the first round, more so in the top 20.
I think he's going to be top 10. He strikes me, again, they keep saying it's a year without many blue chippers. I feel like someone's going to take Tyler Warren.
Kyle, who do you have him going to?
No way to know, unfortunately. Couldn't tell you. I wrote that mock draft like 10 days ago. I literally
remember.
I don't remember. I've like written the bones for the next mock draft already. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll pull it up. Oh wait. Oh no, I had the Bengals going Colston Loveland. I don't know.
Bengals would be cool. Dang.
Yeah, but I have them going with a different tight end. Truly no way to know, unfortunately.
The Bengals need defense anyway. We need to take a quick break.
the easiest pick on the board because everyone mocked the Colts. Thank you, producer Adam. Everyone mocks the Colts for years in a row to go first round tight end. They were supposed to be in the running for Brock Bowers, obviously, and they didn't end up taking him. I have them finally addressing that need instead of taking like weird giant fourth round guys who never play in more than 20 snaps a game, which they've done years in a row. I have them finally fixing it for realsies with Tyler Warren.
Well, that's terrible. I don't like that.
It wouldn't be fun, though.
The Colts have too many pass catchers. The Colts do have something really, really weird going on with their tight ends. Like,
just get a bunch of them free agents this year. So hopefully we can finally get them to start a single tight end for like 50 snaps in a game.
It's how the Seahawks used to be. Like,
like,
dude, I don't know how you have another tight end.
It's like a culture because it stretches across teams, across coaches, across coordinators. It just keeps going.
Too many tight ends. Too many segments without a break. We'll be right back after this. Watch the biggest names in sports talk, including Mike Florio, Dan Patrick, Kyle Dvorchak, Dan Lebitard, and Matthew Berry as they cover the biggest moments on and off the field each weekday on the NBC Sports Now channel. It is available on Peacock and free on most streaming platforms. Learn more at NBCSports.com/now. And now it's time to circle back to seasons in review to mention that I have an article. I'm the only one who's ever had an article on the site. I'm the only guy who's done it. Denny, what's your latest article that we're going to talk about on Tuesday, by the way?
Yeah, it's about 3 offenses that could bounce back in 2025. 3 offenses where the metrics were way, way kinder than the actual on-field results.
We'll get to that on Tuesday. A similar subject matter today, though, where, again, seasons review article, very simple concept, 32-1, only in draft order, trying to put a bow on what happened in the 2024 and how things are aligning for 2025. There's 3 teams that caught my attention in what I called the cursed middle, kind of like the 16 to 20 range. The Dolphins, the Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals. And I just thought it was an interesting debate that of those 3 teams, which would you want to be? We've been starting with Denny a lot. I'll start with you, Kyle. Of those 3, who would you want to be of the Dolphins and the Falcons and the Cardinals? Let's say for 2025, but I guess you could also say for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I kind of took it as the next 2 or 3 years because on the last show we talked about teams that didn't make the playoffs that very much could in the next year. Dolphins struck me as sort of an easy answer to that. We've said it many times. If, and this is a reasonable if to have to make the caveat for, Tua plays every game, they probably make the playoffs, and we're not too concerned with what happens after that. If it's 70 degrees and they make the playoffs, if they make the playoffs and play a game in LA, for instance, where the weather is nice, they have a chance. If they have to play a cold game, it's probably over. But over a 2 or 3 year horizon, I'm sure Denny and I have the same answer.
You probably
do too. It's the Falcons. Like, it's very clearly the team with a quarterback they just drafted in the top 10 that played 3 or 4 games of really good football.
He looked pretty good.
He looked pretty dang good.
Stats were not amazing, but he looked good, I thought.
They were, and the advanced stuff was he's pretty good too. And pretty good to really good. His PFF grading was really good as well. They have at least wide receiver 1 figured out in Drake London. They have per PFF a top 10 pass blocking offensive line, the number 1 run blocking offensive line to pair with one of the best running backs in the NFL. And the defense isn't terrible. They were 20th in EPA. It's not good. It's not a strength of the team, but it's not like they need to, I think the Cowboys did this a few years ago where you spend quite literally all 7 picks on defense. They're not that buried on defense. They're a slightly below average team on defense. Really, the only problem for this team is the fact they're going to eat a ton of dead cap with Kirk Cousins. It's manageable, though, when your quarterback you're actually going to be playing is so cheap for cap purposes.
I could almost see them keeping Kirk around instead of forcing a trade. Probably not, but maybe he's like a Carson Palmer. They could trade him. That's probably a stupid take. Denny, do you agree it's the Falcons?
I do. I mean, I'll give you a sneak peek. The Falcons were one of the 3 teams I wrote about in that piece. And part of the reason I'm bullish on them going forward into next year is because Michael Penix's numbers were pretty good. Like the volume wasn't there because the Falcons are a run first team. And I think they were trying to kind of protect Penix a little bit in his first few starts. He let it rip against the Panthers. I understand it's the Panthers, so it comes with a grain of salt, but I think he's good. Probably not great, but good. London, I know Pitts is like dismissed at this point. Probably won't be part of the long-term picture, but
what if he was? Think about that for a minute.
He's there. And he could be good if he wanted to. Mooney, I take no pleasure in saying Bijan Robinson is actually quite good.
Yep. Totally.
We got him. Clip it, Adam. Producer, clip that one.
I give up. I give up.
Outrageously elite, some are saying.
I lower my shield. It's over for me.
It's never been more over.
And also, guys, they're in the NFC South, so they're gonna easily have a path to the playoffs.
Now, what I would say is that my gut does say the Falcons because, of course, it's going to be the team with the young quarterback. Everyone knows my feelings on Kyler Murray, whose sixth-year starter stats were the exact same as his rookie-year stats. It's literally identical. It's almost eerie. There's not another level to his game. We know Tua, like Kyler, just seems to be hard-capped. The promise for these three teams is the Falcons. What I will say, though, so there's the most upside, there's the most projection you can do with the Falcons. He could also easily be the third worst quarterback of this group, and he could never be as good as Tua or Kyler. Yep. And that is the risk for the Falcons, that he could be a guy who is mostly already a finished product. He cannot move. Tua can't move either. Michael Penix is not really like a mover and a shaker.
I will say Penix spoke with Chris Sims and Mike Florio at the Super Bowl. I was watching that interview the other day, and he talked about the importance of mobility. Kind of hinted that it was something he was aware of, that he's not all that mobile. So maybe
thank God that's easy to fix.
I mean, maybe.
Well, the funny thing is, though, that he blazed the 40 at, I think it was his pro day.
Yeah.
Right? But he has a history. I believe he's torn at least his ACL once. I don't know.
He's got multiple ACL. I think it's honestly
both.
Maybe 3.
Oh God, yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was both. Producer Adam confirms it's both knees that he's.
It's both knees. I think it's 3 combined.
3 combined knees.
So I could be making that up. Yes, all 3
so
knees.
I bet some of it is all 3 knees. I bet some of it is mental, some of it is body protection. Because he is like just purely fast, sort of in the way that CJ Stroud is actually pretty fast. He ran once against Georgia in a losing effort ultimately, and I've never seen him do it again.
Oh yeah.
But if he were to do it, it would be cool. I don't think Penix will ever really do it, though.
Stroud needs to cut it loose in the running, Denny. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, you're right. Penix, I have to say, the bulk of the braces and things that he's wearing on his legs, it's like late career Marino.
It is weird.
Marino I was going to say it's like JJ Watt, where JJ Watt at the end of his career had the knee brace, the elbow brace, and he would just come out as this hulking cybernetic man.
Yeah, it shouldn't be visibly noticeable. And they're always visibly noticeable.
It is.
This next topic totally created in my mind, but I was looking through teams. It's like the question I asked myself: what's a team that's already kind of good that can maybe make a surprising leap to elite status?
The Chiefs.
The only real candidate I saw was the Bucs, where Todd Bowles always keeps things organized and settled on defense. Baker Mayfield is apparently just good. Good young receiver, good young running back. So they've got veteran talent, but also like kind of a new generation on offense. They're a team that's always been underestimated because they have an unsexy, they're an unsexy franchise, an underrated QB. Do you see any next Lions potential with the Bucs, or is this like a totally made up concept that no one should have ever talked about?
No. The metrics say you're onto something. Only the Lions had a better success rate on offense this year than the Bucs, and the Bucs were 4th in EPA per play, like right there with like the Ravens and whatnot. So I think that there's potential there for the Bucs to make that leap. I will say I feel like the defense kind of got away with it at times, kind of bailed out by Baker's heroics.
I don't want to interrupt you, but to interrupt you,
sure.
The Bucs are always one of those defenses where I feel like they kind of always do get away with it just a little bit because they have such a good defensive-minded coach. Would maybe be my take on that, is that they're well coached, well organized. But they did kind of get away with it, Denny.
I mean, I'm
and you're done talking.
No, I am. I'm pretty much done. I am, Baker pilled now that we've seen it. We've seen it for 2 years now, where he's a good passer, he's a good runner. He makes the EPA machine go burr. He's aggressive. Like, these are things you don't really see from a lot of quarterbacks. I would say in the quarterback depleted NFL, I mean, Baker Mayfield is what, like, clearly like a top 8 quarterback,
top 12 for sure.
I was gonna say 10, so we're all 2 increments apart.
You could maybe say top 8 also.
I mean, he's better. You'd rather have him than Trevor Lawrence.
I think so. I'm trying to do dynasty rankings. I'm working on dynasty rankings. Don't know if I'll actually release them or not. It's so hard to know what to do with Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield.
Right. And you'd rather
objectively elite. Neither one of them are old yet.
You'd rather have Mayfield than Justin Herbert, right?
No,
probably not.
I don't
really
fancy Joe Flacco.
So Pat, you're the number one Herbert hater on earth.
I am. I know. I've turned into that.
And so you must think Baker Mayfield stinks.
Well, it's just he's so tiny and he's so aggressive. He gets hurt a lot.
But come on, man, come on. I'm totally out on Herbert after that playoff meltdown.
Herbert's season was very concerning. I mean, do you have anything to add to this, by the way, Kyle?
No. So I thought which was like, no. I think one interesting dynamic that makes them different than the way we view the Lions is that if Baker does what he did last year or the year before that again, he'll have done it with 3 different OCs. I think it will not be a team that is driven by coaching. Like, I think they're a well-coached team, but we could look back at this Dan Campbell staff for the past 3 years and be like, there were 3 incredible head coaches on that team. Obviously, 2 of them we haven't seen yet, but it's possible. They're great. As opposed to this staff or I guess it's the fact that there isn't a consistent staff in terms of the offensive play call. It's going to be 3 different ones. So it will be very much quarterback driven, especially when you look at the first year of Baker Mayfield's resurgence versus the second year. The offenses played 2 extremely different styles. To me, that gives Baker a lot of credit in owning the success of the team. Whereas I do think Jared Goff is very good, but we all reasonably say he can't get all of the credit for how good the team is. And I think he probably gets less credit than the average quarterback. Understandably so. It was great play calling, great talent, the best offensive line in the NFL. You don't have that level of talent surrounding Baker Mayfield. So maybe that gives it some more longevity. The fact that the nucleus of the team is not the coaching staff who will be hired away. It's that Baker has finally figured it out and is really good. And the next offensive coordinator that gets hired away won't matter because it hasn't mattered twice already.
That is a really cool. We should really look powerfully into why Baker Mayfield's offensive coordinators keep getting head coaching jobs. My final thought on this too is that Todd Bowles accepting that they're an offense first team was like a huge development for the Bucs franchise because he gave up on the defense thing. Like he's doing what he can with the defense, his side of the ball, but he gave up we're a conservative, possessions, win on defense team. It was a big development. We had 2 final topics. We're going to do one. I couldn't decide which one. But would you rather be the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills? Let's just say next year. The 2 teams that cannot summit the Chiefs, the 2 teams that just saw apparently you can just easily beat the Chiefs. Maybe we should have done that.
Yeah.
Would you rather be, Denny, the Ravens or the Bills in 2025?
I think Ravens. I feel like having Lamar and Derrick Henry in the same backfield is quite the luxury. And then, together, I think this is a good trio of pass catchers, or actually 4 pass catchers, and Bateman, Flowers, Likely, and Andrews. That's pretty good. And that's something the Bills simply don't have. They got to do something because this whole thing where Khalil Shakir is your wide receiver 1, that cannot last. That cannot be going into this year.
Denny acknowledging Kyle Pitts' existence and then saying that Rashad Bateman makes up a good quartet of pass catchers, really a man after my heart.
I know.
Two of my favorite players that haven't really worked out that well. So I agree with you. I think I would rather be the Ravens for next year. I feel slightly differently for the reason. I do think Josh Allen is slightly better than Lamar. He beat him in total EPA generated while playing fewer plays. And I think he's been better over the long course of his career. I think it's very slight. If you think Lamar is better, to me, the tiebreaker, the thing that says I think Josh Allen's a little better, but where do the Ravens gain the edge? It's coaching. I think I think John Harbaugh's a meaningfully better coach than what the Bills have. I think that will be true over the course of time. It'll even be true over other Harbaughs. Like there are multiple Harbaughs that will coach their teams better than almost any other team, frankly. It's not just a Bills situation. I don't think the Bills are like some horribly coached team. It's simply that I think John Harbaugh is one of the best in the NFL.
I do think Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson, like ever so slightly. And it's obviously extremely up for debate. But I'm choosing the Ravens too, where it was a transition year for the Bills, but I'm just not entirely clear what they're transitioning to for next season. Whereas the Ravens, I feel like, had the worst defensive year they're going to have in a while. And they had already gotten it kind of organized by the end of the season anyway. Like, I don't think we've seen the peak of this Lamar, Derrick Henry attack. And I do think the passing attack, at least from a personnel perspective, could probably still get a little better. And it just feels like it's weird to say with a team that's been going for 5 or 6 years already. We're still, I get more of a sense of momentum and building towards something with the Ravens than I do with the Bills. Not that the Bills are not. And the Bills could be. I just like the overall position of the Ravens roster a little better. And I do like their coaching better. And I do like their defense better. And even if I ever so slightly prefer Josh Allen, I do prefer the Ravens for 2025. And I prefer that we end the show now.
All right.
So, yeah. For Denny, I'm Pat. That was Seasons in Review. We got, Denny, your article. What's the one that's out? What's the one that's coming out again? Remind the folks.
Yeah, well, the Kelce piece is out, and also 3 offenses that could improve going into next year is also out.
When is Mock Drafts 2.0 dropping, Kyle? Not for a few weeks, maybe.
Yeah, probably after the Combine, but that's this next coming weekend. So like 10 days or something like that.
Gosh, how is it already the Combine?
I think the Combine's starts like next Thursday, Friday, or whatever. They show up at Indy on Wednesday. So it will be after the Combine fully wraps. I did drop, I believe I dropped cut candidates earlier this morning, which folds in with some of the season.
Yeah, we should talk about that today probably then. But
we got it for next week.
We'll talk about it on Tuesday and check out Aaron Rodgers' big board. So for Denny Carter, for Kyle Dvorchak, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you for listening. We will be back on Tuesday.